So moving on to a demo of the ticket application and trying to explain a bit further in how it's been set up and what the purpose of the ticket application is. So we've built many communities over the years, and communities are great at engaging with membership where there is a shared desire to answer questions or to discuss topics and perform actions that are collaborative. What we found, though, is that in many circumstances, in terms of self-service, is that there is also a need for members to be able to ask private questions. And the only mechanism to do that in the platform out of the box is to use private messages. So we created the ticket application, which is an application in the same vein as blogs or forums. So you can add them to groups and people can access them based on roles. But also has the notion of private tickets. So a private ticket is one in which only a ticket administrator can see the ticket and obviously the owner of the ticket themselves. So what we have in front of me here is one of our communities, the Intelligence, and we use this for demonstrations as well as discussing intelligent self-service, digital first engagement. I've got three windows open. The reason I have three windows open is because there's various user scenarios that I want to go through that require different accounts to demonstrate the capabilities of the platform. So the user we have front and center at the moment is a site administrator. So this has full access to the entire site. So I'll start by going back to the back-end administration. And if we look at the membership here, there is a member here called Ticket User. And if we look at their roles, they're part of ticket agents. And if I edit that role and look at the permissions, we'll see that they have the ability to view the private ticket zone, manage the private tickets and administer the private ticket section of the site. We'll come back to that in a little later, but that is a ticket agent there. So if we move on to applications, this is obviously where you enable and disable applications on the platform. Now that the ticket application has been installed, there's a new option, ticket application, which, as you can see, is enabled. There are a number of different settings in here relating to tickets. The two core ones are these two tabs here. So we have a state machine for the ticket application. So you can create multiple states for your tickets and have different users with the ability to transition between those states. There is obviously a default state, and there is also the notion of the idea of it being a closed state, and also whether or not when you change state it requires a reason. And when we say it requires a reason, what that will do is prompt the user to place a reply. So by doing this, you can't have a ticket closed without a message being placed on the post so that the user knows why the ticket has been closed, for example. We also have the idea of canned responses. We'll come on to those a little bit later, but they help with ticket administration. So that's the ticket application. The ticket application also requires a couple of automations. There are two automations that are critical for the operation of the ticket application. There is the state machine automation, which allows you as a customer to customize the state transitions depending on the type of user that is accessing that ticket. So the out-of-the-box implementation has a state engine that allows anyone with private ticket access the ability to change through the three default states. Anyone who is the owner of the ticket to set the ticket as closed. So, for example, I create a ticket, but then I've discovered an answer, then I can set it closed. Or if you don't have either of those permissions, then you can't change the state. So that's the out-of-the-box implementation. Obviously, you can make this as complicated or as clever as you like. The ticket team allocation is related to the fact that tickets are managed by teams of users, and teams are allocated tickets based on a score. So there is a rolling score for each team, and when a ticket comes in, it is allocated to the team with the lowest score, and then that score is updated for that particular team. So the idea is that if you have a team of 20 or 30 different teams, or 5, all of the teams will be allocated tickets based on their current workload. So it spreads out the workload between members of staff. So that's the back end administration side of things of the ticket application. If I go back to the front end, and I've created a group here called support, and I've created a ticket application. Now, the ticket application can exist in any group, and the permissions of that group will be applied to the ticket application. We also have the standard permissions model that applies to all different Verint community applications. So whether you can reply, whether you can make it private, whether you can edit the reply, all of the standard things. We also have a number of different application options. So these are fairly standard application options, like the URL, friendly URL, which group it exists in. And then there are a number of different other features. So we can turn on and off whether or not the user member can create public and private tickets. We can granularly control which are allowed file extensions for this particular application. And we can also control which file extensions are added to what we call the attachment list. We find this very useful in software examples where people are uploading sample bits of code. You can say that only C# extensions, so .cs extensions, are added to the attachment list, and so when someone views the ticket, they can see all of those attachments and download them all. So this is the ticket list view and displays all tickets. Because I'm an administrator here, you can see that I can actually see both public and private tickets for this application. On the window here, I'm logged on as a very famous person called John Allen. And John Allen is nothing special in this community. He's just a member. And as you can see, he can only see the public questions. That's because he's not a ticket administrator and he's not a system administrator for the platform. However, if John created a private ticket, and just for reference here, you can see that all of the standard functionality that exists within the platform is also available within the ticket application. So all of the embeddable content, emoticons, formatting, everything, and also tagging. So if I make that post, now if we go back to the ticket application, John can now see his private ticket, and he can see the 2 public tickets. If I refresh my screen here, here's John's private ticket, and I can reply to that ticket. And I can suggest that as an answer. By suggesting this as an answer, there's a slight difference in how this works in terms of forum question and answers. If I suggest this as an answer, as a ticket owner, in terms of John's response, as a ticket administrator, I can verify that this answer is correct, and also then close the ticket. So that ticket is now closed. I can move it back into a process as I'm an administrator, but John can only see closed. This this currently is a private ticket. Now this brings us on to how ticket administrators see the world. And so they have a slightly different view of the world. And I've got a different browser open here. Luckily, we have both Chrome and Edge to use here. And you can see here that we have a private ticket area. And this view is for exclusively ticket administrators. And ticket administrators can see everyone's private tickets. So these are private tickets that have been raised by John and other users, myself there. And they can also see the public tickets. So they have an overview of all of the tickets within the site. So if there are 5 ticket applications within the community, this view will have an aggregated view of all of the tickets, both public and private. Now, depending on the permissions of the ticket agent, they will only see the tickets from the groups that they have access to. So if there is a group that is private and only has certain memberships, then only the ticket admins that have access to that group will see the private and public tickets of that particular group. So there's several layers of security that allow you for quite complex nuances in terms of administrating who can handle and manage the tickets. If you see here, there are actually 2 views at the moment. So we have tickets that are owned by me and tickets that are in my team. And I'm actually part of the, I'll do that on the, let's come back up. So I am part test team 1 ticket user. I am part of this test team 1. So these are all allocated to test team 1. If I open one of these tickets, rather than going to the public view, everything within the private area is viewed within a private zone. And the reason we've done that is because, firstly, we don't want the ticket administrators jumping around the site and getting lost within groups of where tickets are. They need one consistent view. The other reason is that we wanted to introduce more features around what is and isn't available in the platform in terms of knowledge about this ticket and about this user. So up the top here, we can see related content. So this allows a ticket administrator to relate different parts of the site and different content on the site to this ticket. We can see the attachments. As I just talked about earlier, the attachments can be aggregated into a list. We can see the tags for this particular ticket, and we can also see the tags that are available and have been used by this user on all the tickets that they have raised. This gives you an idea of the pattern of questions they're asking and allows the ticket administrator to understand the user a little bit better. We also have a ticket history, which again fits in with tag analysis and allows you to see what tickets the user has been asking. Down the right hand side here, we've got a various number of options. We can assign the ticket to a different team. We only have one team in this particular instance. We can watch the author of this ticket, the member who's raised this ticket originally, which means we'll get notifications when they raise other pieces of content. We can watch this ticket, so we can watch and get notifications when someone replies to this ticket or performs actions on this ticket. We can view all the events that have occurred on this ticket. So you can see here, John created the ticket. I edited a reply and then I changed the status. We can change a ticket from private to public. Now, when this happens, I'm not going to demonstrate this because it's quite a long use case and will involve many windows, but if I click go public, the original will get a notification saying, would you like this ticket to be public? And you can send a message along with that request. And if the user, John, agrees to that request, then the ticket will be converted to public, meaning that the community can then answer that question. The reason we've done this is because there is a tendency sometimes for users to assume that all questions should be private. And actually, some questions tend to be non-sensitive and either answerable by the community or answerable by the ticket administrator, but the results need to be shared with the wider community. So this allows us to try and persuade the member that their ticket should be public. Down the bottom here, we have things like ticket notes. So these are notes that you can add to a ticket. Notes can be pre-canned. So we can have pre-canned messages, or they can be free text. We also have member notes. So when a member raises a ticket, these member notes will carry across from ticket to ticket. So you can see basically a log of anything that any ticket administrator has logged about this particular user. So if they're a problem user, or if they're abusing the system in some way, then notes can be added here. It can also use this area to add notes about maybe the project that they're working on, if they're working on, or the group they're in, and other things, useful metadata associated to the user. So that's the ticket administrator view. And this is the end user view. And what haven't I shown you? I think that's it for now. Oh, I haven't done filters. So one of the features of the ticket administrator view is the ability to filter using tags or state. So we can say closed. So we can see that this ticket here is John's ticket, and it is in the state closed. And that was the tag that I used for that particular content. We can also export this in the CSV file. So if you want to do analysis on tickets, then you can export that view data into a CSV file, which can then be edited using Excel to drill into the details of the content. I believe that is all there is to demonstrate on the ticket application. I'm happy to take questions and discuss how other features work. It is a relatively complex product, but once you understand the basics, it is a very valuable product in the suite of intelligent self-service and digital first engagement. Thank you for listening.